You're listening to Passing Time, a Detroit Lions podcast. We're one pride and all grit, with a passion for Detroit Lions football. Whether you're between meetings, between classes, sitting in traffic, or just relaxing at home, if you have time to pass, pass it with Passing Time. Detroit Lions Talk.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, making Passing Time one of your weekly or bi-weekly listens.
Yeah.
I'm Rob.
I'm Brian.
And we're on the clock here, Passing Time with us. This is a Detroit Lions podcast, episode
53.
Today's episode, we are going to get into some pretty hot takes on roster. You know, is the quarterback room better? That's an easy one. Is the wide receiver room better? Is the safety room better? We're going to go through some of that analysis and give you kind of off-the-cuff hot takes, unscripted there. We're going to get into some OTAs, interviews with players, assistant coaches, head coaches, talk a little bit about that. We are going to make you some money because we did go through some DraftKings websites and looked at some of the Vegas over-unders out there, and we've pinpointed a few areas that we feel like there's some bit of degree to make some money there, Bri.
Like it. Let's go.
Yeah? You like it?
I like it.
Before we get started, and before you really start feeling fresh with our podcast, Brian, can you tell them an important announcement that actually helps us out quite a bit?
Hey, listen, do us a favor and hit that like button. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Check us out on all the socials and tell us if you like what we're doing.
With that being said, let's get right into it. Brian, the off-the-cuff, like unscripted, where are we better talk here? And we briefly threw a couple position groups.
We did.
And do you want to start, or do you want me to propose a couple questions to you?
I propose a couple questions because, you know, to be honest with you, when we're looking at the 2025 to 2026 rosters, where are we? Are we better? Are we worse? You know, what position groups can you say like confidently like I'm happy with what direction we're going?
Yeah, I like that. So let's put each other on the spot here, and I'll go first.
Okay.
And I'll say, like, I have a group that I think we're slightly worse at this year.
Okay, what's the group?
I think we're slightly worse in the running back room this year.
And I guess I would not disagree. I would say Isaiah Pacheco does not equal a David Montgomery. I do believe that giving a higher load to Jahmyr Gibbs is going to make us better in that room, but we're very dependent on the health and legs of Jahmyr Gibbs.
Devil's advocate here is if Gibbs is going to get 80 to 85% of the touches, and if he is 10% better, and by simple math, if 85 times 10% equals 95, right?
Yeah.
And if you're dropping off the other, 15%, and if you're getting 10% worse, that number doesn't stack up. So if Montgomery's 10% better than a Pacheco, but we know that if Gibbs goes down, the Lions are still they're not gonna quite be the same team, but they are still gonna be able to pound it with David Montgomery.
And now with Isaiah Pacheco, are we going to be able to rely on him to be healthy, one, and to be able to carry the same type of load as a David Montgomery could? And I don't think he can. I don't think he can be, at this age in his game, the feature back.
Yeah, I agree. So, Brian, you give me one position group, and you tell me where we're going to be better or worse at.
All right, so I'm going to give you the position group of edge rusher.
Okay, all right. And your take is?
I believe that in the edge rusher room, we're going to be better.
Okay. All right. Why?
I think getting younger, I think getting healthier, getting guys that can be on the field for majority of the season versus guys that have a history of being, dinged up and not being able to play. Availability is your best ability, right? So those types of guys like, still Aiden Hutchinson, guys like...
Well,
Bonham,
Yeah, you
guys
got DJ Wanham. You got Derek Moore. Draft capital
Yeah.
there says that Derek Moore is going to be a factor this year. You got to be a guy. Ted, right? There every day.
Yeah,
you got to be Ted, and we were a Marcus Davenport apology tour podcast.
You go back to our hot takes, and we're talking about Marcus Davenport being the guy that made it to every game, and it was going to be a contributor. Well, I'm gonna chalk that up into the incorrect, column.
We don't get everything right. We don't get like most things right here, but like we don't get everything right. So edge rusher. Also, I think we were kind of briefly chatting about Aiden Hutchinson. His not this offseason, but his last offseason, Brian, versus this offseason,
right?
And what that looks like.
And we can say this probably repetitively with a bunch of other guys too. Is that this offseason, the 26 offseason is going to be, I'm preparing for a season. I'm getting my body ready to play. I'm getting my body ready to be better. Versus last offseason where even Aiden Hutchinson, Ali McNeil, Malcolm Rodriguez, the list goes on and on to these guys who are, I'm getting my body ready to make it on the field. Not get ready to be better, not get ready to play. I want to just be on the field.
Yeah.
So...
yeah,
there's a major difference in the way that you train with these off seasons in order to prepare your body to get it better, to get it prepared to play in a 17 game season and then beyond. So
yeah, all right, I'm buying into that. So you want to go one more round, two more rounds here?
Couple more rounds. Let's see what else we got.
I think we got it. So I'll take a controversial one. This is one that we did briefly discuss, but I'll say the offensive line will be better this year.
Okay. And this is where I don't know yet. I feel like there's a lot to be seen in order to evaluate this offensive line versus last offensive line. Taylor Decker, perennial, he was...
Perennial what? You got to say perennial something.
I mean, he was a solid player. Like, we can't say that he wasn't.
Perennial solid player? Is that what we're going with?
Listen, the guy was a solid player. He was one of those guys that you could rely on to play majority of the games, but he was going to play hurt majority of those games, right? So was he going to play at his best every game? No, but he was still going to be serviceable.
A perennial solid player.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think he had some years where he was a upper 25% tackle in the NFL. Certainly he had some years where between injuries, his availability, and then also his diminishing skill, he was paid like a top 25 player, but probably produced more like a bottom 25% left tackle.
And I think moving Panay to that left side, you obviously in that regard have improved your skill set, right? You've improved your player to player ratio. But that also means on your right side you've gotten worse, right?
Yeah.
If you move from the best player at right tackle to whether it's Larry Borum or whether that's Blake Miller, you've gotten worse at that position, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, left tackle is the equivalent of like, all right, like last year. Here's an example. Like I live in Walker, Michigan, a very kind of like semi-rural outside the city area where housing prices are relatively affordable. If you take my house here in Walker, Michigan, and you pick it up and you plop it on a good lot in East Grand Rapids, this house is worth way more money, right? Sure. So you took the best house in Walker, not that my house is, and you put it over in East Grand. You took Panay Sewell, just this right tackle, and you got rid of that guy, and you plopped him into. He is maybe the most valuable or the top 3 most valuable left tackles now in the NFL.
Yep.
You have solidified that left tackle spot right alongside your biggest question mark on the offensive line, which is your left guard spot.
And that's where we also debated or discussed that left guard, whether it's Chris Mahogany or Miles Frazier or Drew Scruggs or whoever might fill that spot. you have a safety net right next to you in order to help support you, whether you are going to be, again, Chris Mahogany, who dealt with some injuries last year, or whoever else. So,
and you don't just have a safety net, and this is where we also disagree on your left side. But I think if you're the left guard, you have a safety net on your left side, and you have a better safety net on your right side, Brian. We have definitely upgraded at the center position, and if you're not already sipping the blue Kool-Aid here on the signing, it's better than Graham Glasgow.
It's better.
It's not Frank Ragnow, but it is a...
Yes, I believe that Cade Mays is better than Graham Glasgow. I don't know how much better he is yet. I'd love to believe that he is going to solidify this position, and his upward trajectory is just going to go through the roof. He's just going to get nothing but better, but it's to be determined at this point.
All right, so there's 5 spots in the offensive line, Brian, right? There's 5 spots, right? So we're starting this from the left to the right. We've agreed that left tackle this year will be better.
A lot better. We've
agreed that left guard will be better.
Based on the left tackle, yes. Yeah.
You don't need to. We agreed.
Sure,
right?
We agreed.
We just agreed that center will be better, right?
It will be better. So how much better? That's the debate.
All right.
Continuing on.
All right. So then let's get into the next natural spot to talk about. Let's talk
right
about
guard?
right guard.
Okay.
And this is where we don't want to talk out of two sides of our mouth.
No,
here.
we can't, because if you take away your safety net, or you take away your best right tackle in the game, and you move him away from a Tate Ratledge, does he get better, or does he start to feel like he's on his own island now?
So you want to see Tate take a second year leap, right?
You do.
You hope. Hank Fraley's got him coached up. He obviously started every game last year. That's huge. It wasn't just a rookie sitting the bench and getting spot play. It was a rookie playing. I think he played the most snaps.
Most of all rookie offensive line in the NFL.
Yeah. So this guy is, and also at Georgia. I don't remember correct. We did a podcast a while back, but I believe that he started 3.5 years down.
Yes.
So this is a guy with a ton of starts. We talked about like, hey, it'd be cool if the Lions drafted Monroe Freeling. He was a guy that started 1 year in college.
Right.
So we got a guy he's been battle tested, and I don't know if he's even a sophomore at this point. I think he's almost like a veteran right guard.
We have to rely on him, yes. But how much is he going to grow, and how much is he going to come to reality when he doesn't have the best right tackle next to him? Because the guy next to him, so if this debate at right guard is undecided whether he's going to be better or worse, the right tackle is also, we have to agree, it's going to get worse, because it's either Larry Borum or Blake Miller.
Yep.
And so you're talking about somebody that's obviously lesser than Penei Sewell.
And there's no doubt. So at right guard, we think the player is better going into year 2. We think the situation maybe neutralizes that. So at this point, we're kind of calling that a wash?
Maybe a slight step back, maybe a wash. I mean, that's to be determined.
So 60% better so far with and then we get into right tackle, right? So at the beginning of the year, there's no doubt that right tackle is going to be not only worse, but potentially like a couple steps worse.
Yeah, there's no comparison from a Penei Sewell to a Larry Borum or a Blake Miller. There's no comparison there, right? You can't.
But the Lions like Larry Borum, right? They
do.
They thought that he's an NFL caliber starter at right tackle. They liked his work over there. Mm-hmm. And they drafted a guy that started 4 years in college, has a ton of experience over there, in Blake Miller. Give him first-round draft capital. And those two guys are going to be battling, right, to win that job. And then they have optionality, so they're not going to be held hostage to that position. So, yeah.
And absolutely, not only that, but the floor for that depth across the board. I mean, really any of those offensive line positions, we've rose that floor. I mean, it's gotten higher. So
as Michael Jordan said, the ceiling is the roof.
The ceiling is the roof.
That's what we got on the right side. So, are you gonna where are you going to fall in this debate? Are you agreeing with Rob? Or are you going to vote to the other side on this one?
I have to say, it's show me. Like,
Okay.
I can't give you my hot take now. I want to believe. I want to, as a Lions slappy, I want to believe that the offensive line is going to be better. Therefore, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be better. Jared Goff is going to be better. Our wide receivers are going to be. Our offense is going to click because of this. But you got to show me.
Yeah, and the data suggests, and the common sense that I provide to this podcast suggests that. But he's driven through the Show Me State, Missouri, once or twice, and he wants to see it. So, Brian, one more round, so you'd be up.
All right, so let me ask you about this, then. Linebacker. You have Jack Campbell. You have yourself a Derek Barnes, and you have yourself a
Jimmy Roller, baby. Yeah.
Or Malcolm Rodriguez. Okay, so what we've done is we've lost Alex Anzalone, and we're replacing him with some...
Yeah, we got some
either draft capital or a guy that's might be pretty solid to transition into that.
So you're posing the question.
I am.
And typically in this segment we've been giving our own answer first, right? So
my own answer. Okay,
Yeah.
I believe that we take a step back.
Okay.
I think based on Alex Anzalone's ability, I've been a Alex Anzalone lover.
apologist.
Apologist. I love the fact that he is able to cover as well as fill in the box. I don't think he is. I don't think everybody can do what Alex Anzalone has been asked to do for the Detroit Lions. It allows us to stay in that base defense more than any other team, and I think there might be some transition away from that because Alex Anzalone is no longer part of the Detroit Lions.
So we, in your opinion, we're taking a step back.
Correct.
It's hard to take the other take on this, but I'm going to try to do that. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to try to do that. I think that Captain Jack Campbell is taking steps forward, and I think he's got a new contract to prove that he is very valued. His experience, I think he's taken. He might be at the peak of his playing career this year or next year. He is right there.
Right there.
The right age, the right experience level to really do some great things, right? I think that, Rodrigo might start the season off as a starter, but I think we're going to find out quick that Jimmy Rolder's a guy that was mentioned in the press conference. Dan Campbell mentioned
Chris, you asked for it. Here it is.
Yeah, he mentioned Fox, Bates, and basically Jimmy Rolder, baby. And if you scroll back, I've been mentioning him for a while. I think Jimmy Rolder is going to be a guy that he can cover. I think he's a guy that can stuff the run. He's a hard nose. I think he's a Jack Campbell light type guy, a very complimentary guy. And I don't know what they were talking about, what Dan was talking about guys holding the team hostage, right? I think that, personally, that might have been a shot at Taylor Decker. And I think that might have been a shot at Alex Anzalone. And sometimes guys they're resting their laurels on their past work. And they're not bringing that same lunchbox approach, especially in contract years and to the team where they want to be as competitive. I mean, you talked about David Montgomery, a couple plays last year running out of bounds or scoring a touchdown when all we needed to do was drop it down, and he wanted to get his. I think there was a couple of those situations. I think actually David Montgomery might be a guy that we're talking about holding the team hostage a little bit. That Dan Campbell's like, hey, we don't have those guys on the team this year. So, there's only a few difference makers that are gone. I don't think Khalif Raymond was one of those guys holding the team hostage. So
sure.
I think Anzalone might have had a few things, and you don't know the waiting mechanism for a guy that's doing that behind the scenes. All we can do is really see what's showing up to play. And Anzalone was a really good football player. I think Jimmy Rolder is going to grow into a really good football player.
And I don't want to say that Anzalone was a guy that. It's hard for me to say that he held them hostage because I believe that he was a true professional. I believe that he wanted his. I think he saw more value in himself than the Lions were willing to give him. But I also think that he played in a way that he was a professional, right? I don't think he played with the same passion, maybe, or the same, like you said, bring your lunch pail, let's get to work kind of mentality. But I do believe that he still maintained his professionalism. I think that perhaps, and this might be controversial, David Montgomery might have moved past that, right? I love David Montgomery. I think if you look at past pods, I believe that he was a driver of the offense, and he really, if we were able to utilize him in the right ways, he could definitely have been a feature and a catalyst to the Lions offense, and we didn't. But I also think that got to him.
Yeah.
And so that itself kind of probably may have trickled in. I think that may have been also true with Taylor Decker, believing that he was a top 25 left tackle when the reality he wasn't. I think there might be a handful of other guys as well who may have needed a wake-up call as well. And they might still be with us, but hopefully seeing that we're bringing in competition, younger talent, guys that are hungry, guys that can continue to bring back this, like, we want to be better and we're not going to accept anything less. So
yeah,
something to prove. So.
And I don't know what the podcast correlation here. I'm going to try to distill it down to something that might be relatable to you as an audience, or as a fellow host. What about two guys that grind it out at work? And I see this at my work. Two guys that are just absolutely, they're grinding out at work, right? From a numbers standpoint. But one guy goes to the office every day. He's there for his teammates to answer questions. He's periodically stepping in on team meetings because those weren't a scheduled call or Zoom. And he's all around his teammates. He's building relationships in the office. He's working hard. And he's saying, like, hey, man, like, this is where it's at. And then you got another guy that's saying, like, hey, maybe this is a Taylor Decker, maybe it's an Anzalone. I'm going to work from home, but just look at the analytics, man. Like, I'm doing a good job. Look at the data suggests I'm doing a good job, but, like, I'm the kind of guy that I want you to bring it to all the situations all the time. And a lot of people maybe on this podcast are like, hey, man, like, work from home is the greatest thing. And, like, there's certain jobs that certainly that can do it. But in certain cases, those spontaneous conversations in an office with your teammates, with a crew, that can lead to, like, robust breakthroughs that you never would have had because you never would have passed by the water cooler together. And I don't know if Montgomery, Anzalone, if those guys were passing the water cooler at the same cadence and looking for those same conversations. And now you got some eager learners in there. Yeah. And that might transition to this culture that, like, I think the Lions are really trying to build. And that's a long diatribe. I hope you understand it, because I think it makes some sense.
Sure. No, I don't disagree. I mean, there's something to say about the connectivity of players as well, the willingness to play for each other, not just the talent that you have on the field. And there's something to say, especially when it comes to, we can go back to offensive line. If you have guys that are practicing every day together, who've now learned each other's intricacies, where Taylor Decker didn't practice last year, right? He got to the game and he played, but I mean, that put a Christian Mahogany at a disadvantage, not knowing his first step.
Right, so that was a fun segment, actually completely unscripted, where we really just were like, hey, let's talk about where we're better, where we're worse, where it all unraveled, and this podcast is better when we have some rub between the two of us.
Sure,
so,
we don't agreed in line everything as it goes. So
I love you, but I don't want to agree with everything you say. So I'm going to quickly skim through some of the OTA notes, Campbell presser. We can ebb and flow this. I don't want to do the majority of the talking, but I mean, really, honestly, like, if you haven't watched the pressers, like, I would probably pass on this round, because there wasn't a lot said in these. It's a very business-like, we're not going to give away the secret sauce type press conferences.
Right? I mean, he was excited about Jake Bates and Jack Fox, and that's basically what he gave us, right?
That's about it. So was asked about Kafka. Said great addition. Admired him going from a superior role, being a head coach, to a lower role. Says he's a thinker, he's creative, he listens to what Drew and Dan want done, and he tries to implement that. And he thinks that him and David Shaw are going to be a pretty good team together.
Love that.
For the passing game. Somebody asked a question about, like, hey, Kafka was really successful, and we experienced this as Lions fans, with the Giants with the deep ball. And he said, did you hire him because you want to bring that deep ball to Detroit? And Dan Campbell didn't want to belittle the question asker, but basically said, we do want to get better at the deep ball, but no, we didn't hire a guy to steal his deep ball, tricks.
But he also gave Jared Goff the accolades of, like, he can make every throw and any throw, and we have guys that can go out and get J-Mo who go out and get that deep ball. But it wasn't the reasoning that we brought Kafka in.
Yeah. Somebody said, hey, Dan, who's standing out? And he has that like little smirk on his face, and he's just like Bates and Fox. And then people start laughing. To your point, you said it earlier.
Yeah.
Basically, Dan Campbell, he doesn't really believe in guys standing out right now. And even if you're standing out, like that doesn't. I don't even think that moves the needle a little bit for him, right?
Well, I think they're going to a different mantra this year. Last year, you may have heard Dan give a bunch of names at this point and like speak guys up and try to give them confidence. I think that he wants to implement competition, and he doesn't want to hedge his bets on which way he's leaning right now, because that takes away from the competition that he's creating.
Yeah. So, the question asker pushed a little deeper, and he said, there's a lot of young guys, but not naming names. Then he kind of mentioned that, hey, the roster from last year to this year, he's like, one thing that stood out is we are a lot younger this year. And this is where, if you go back to the last segment, we talked about, the word hostage. I think he used like, hey, previously we're not going to be held hostage to some of these guys. Yeah. So the guy, the question was like, like who's holding you hostage? And his answer was just like, hey, we got new blood in certain positions, so we don't have to. The kind of the example he gave was like, if you have a veteran that's maybe trending at like an 8, and you got a young guy, and he's just pretty comfortable being an 8, and you got a young guy that's going from a 6 to a 7 to a 7.5, and he's working his tail off. Like, he actually wants to go to that young guy and say, like, I'll go with you because you're working harder and you're going to give us more for longer. And if you keep up the same attitude, we're not going to be held hostage to the guy that's just happy being an 8.
Yep. And he said, like, that 7.5 guy who's maybe younger, who's on that upward trajectory, in 4 weeks is going to be well beyond that 8 and continuing to grow. So.
Yeah. Lots of open battles out there. Most consistent guys will get the jobs. Essentially, these OTAs are like learning the formations, learning how to get off the ball, learning how to disguise your formations. It's all the things that you can do in your underwear in the Olympics, right? So like Dan Campbell's just like, hey, we want to go into the next series, to our camp with guys that know how to line up. They know how to disguise certain things. They know the cadence of the quarterback, and then they know the audibles and all the things that don't involve physical football. We want to have down, because there's no excuses when we get to the next segment if guys are getting that wrong.
Exactly right.
Mentioned Jimmy Roller by name. Chuck got a shout out. Jack got a shout out.
Yep.
So not a whole lot there. Said that they actually been limiting the playbook. Just making sure that they're doing that really, really well, yep. Kind of their baseline. Brian, segment 2.
Yeah.
So we went through some data, some analytics.
Yeah. Some beat writers, what they've been saying about all the position groups, all the ins and outs of the roster predictions going into the season for all the teams in the NFC North.
Which roster predictions at this point are, as my dad used to call it, a WAG. And a WAG stands for a wild ass guess, right? Like you don't quite know. So you're trying to figure out, because there's going to be guys cut and added, and a lot of things are going to happen, traded. But I think it's interesting because all this analytics, we kind of put it in, took all these filters, and we just kind of smashed it together, and we had a ranking system on position groups throughout the NFC North. Who's first, who's second, who's third, and who's fourth. And
so we don't want to spend like a half hour on this segment, and though we could, but we do want to give some pieces to you that we thought that was pretty interesting. So
yeah. So Brian, I will I'll name the position.
All right.
I'll give the ranking, and because you're such a better guy, instant reaction, I want you to give me your instant reaction. Okay?
All right.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
And if you want to put me on the spot and spin this back around,
I'll spin it.
You can hit the B button right in the middle of us. All right. So we'll start off the quarterback position. We'll kind of work our way through the offense to the defense. And the quarterback position was ranked Packers first. I'm going to say it in first, second, third, fourth order. Packers, Lions, Bears, Vikings.
Okay.
Thoughts?
I think they're so crammed together. It's really hard to really nitpick away because they're very different, right? I would say that Love and Caleb Williams are closer in their styles. Maybe even Kyler Murray, throw him into that mix a little bit too. But I don't know. I would say that I'd push for, I'd disagree with this to some extent. Maybe I'm a Jared Goff lover, maybe because I'm a Lions fan. But I feel like his ability to dictate an offense is and manipulate the defense is better than Love's ability to do so.
And I think, honestly, if we get to the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if Caleb Williams was the best quarterback in the NFC North either. So, to your point, it's a pretty sandwich group, right? But I'm with you. I'm a golf guy. This is a Lions podcast. We try not to be homers, but we are.
We are.
So, running back, Lions, Packers, Vikings, Bears.
Yeah, I think this is probably a no-brainer. Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs is maybe one of the best in the NFL, let alone the NFC North. So now is the Packers running back, is Jacobs going to play?
Yeah, and I've kind of heard it described, we look at Quinshon Judkins last year.
Yeah.
What happened to him? Similar situation with some of the charges and some of the things he did, which we don't condone in this podcast, actually.
Nope.
If those things are true, you're kind of a miserable human being. And if Steve Hirsch, if you own one of those jerseys, I would burn it. That's just me personally. But, you're also innocent until proven guilty, and we don't really know what this is. But whatever it is, the NFL, if you're a key player on a key team, they find a way to move past it in a relatively quick time manner, so we would expect kind of maximum a 4 to 6 game suspension, but probably not that. I mean, that's the minimum is nothing, right? And then the minimum is money. Maximum is maybe a 4 to 6 game suspension. Where I really disagree, I think the Lions definitely have the best running back room with just Jahmyr Gibbs, but I think the Bears also have a better running back room than the Vikings, and I think I think DeAndre Swift proved to be a pretty serviceable back, and then Monangai is a very, very good back.
Very good. I think he's an underrated backup, if not, could be your next coming of a David Montgomery or a future back like that. So
yeah, I mean, Minnesota's got Aaron Jones, who's a good back when he's healthy. But that dude's gonna miss 6 games every single season, and Jordan Mason missed games last year, and also didn't do what we expected him to do as a big bruiser running back, and maybe it was the offense. Maybe JJ wasn't given enough a threat as a passer, so the running backs just didn't get a chance to shine.
Yeah.
So wide receiver, ranked Lions, Vikings, Bears, Packers. Again, pretty tight.
And I would say that the Vikings have the best overall wide receiver in the group. but the grouping itself. So, I mean, you look at what the Lions have to offer, the Amon-Ra's, the JMO pairings, and then you add a Tesla to that mix, and you got yourself a pretty solid trio of guys that are going to be threats on that offense, where Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, who's at number 3? Is it Ty Felton, the rookie? Is it Rondell Moore? Who's going to come in to fill that next spot? So
yeah, pretty fascinating. It's a pretty sandwich group. The next one, I'm bamboozled on a little bit. Again, tight end, Lions, Bears, Vikings, Packers. I completely disagree.
With you look at Tucker Kraft as being maybe the best tight end in that grouping.
He's the best blocker out of the group, and a very formidable receiver.
Yep. So he showed nothing but upside before he got banged up, and I feel like he'd be one of those guys that I'd love to have. Sam Laporta though has a lot of upside too. You add in Tyler Conklin and a Brock Wright, and maybe the trio of those guys look better than the Luke Musgraves and the Ben Sims in the Packers room. But I would argue about that one.
And the fun thing is you didn't even mention that Colston Loveland. If you stack him up, the last half of his rookie year, he was putting up. I mean, he was putting up numbers that were akin to I'm forgetting Travis Kelce prime type numbers. I mean, they were targeting him a ton. You had the Bears. Dunze was hurt, so he was getting a ton of targets, but he was putting up really significant stats. In that second half of the year, if that rolls into this year, the Bears would have an argument to have the best tight end room probably in the North.
Yep.
And then we look at Hockenson, who a former Lion that we traded him away in his prime. He's a very, very good tight end.
Very good.
So it's interchangeable. It's debatable. It's hard to say. So offensive line.
Yeah.
Lions, Bears, Packers, Vikings.
And again, this is tough only because there's a lot of unknowns in the Lions world. A lot of unknowns in a lot of these positions. Why? Because of the ins and outs and the movement of these guys at those positions. So you could argue that the Packers might be better than the end of the road here. So
yeah, it's a debate. Defensive line. Another really close call, but again, and we didn't use Lions slanted. It wasn't like, hey, skew this data to the Lions. Defensive line came up Lions, Packers, Bears, Vikings. And then if you break that down in the defensive line, we did a kind of a subtopic. Like, what do you think about the edge? And it came up Packers, Lions, Vikings, Bears.
Yeah. I can see definitely makes sense for the Packers being with Miles and not Miles, I'm sorry, Micah, coming back and hopefully being healthy for them, or hopefully not being healthy for them. But yes, he's obviously better than Aiden Hutchinson at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so there's a couple really good edges. The Vikings have a guy that I don't know if he's just a Lions, a guy that beats up on the Lions, but the Packers definitely have one of the best players in the NFL, line up at edge. It's hard to discount that. Yep. Lions have some good draft capital in the middle of their defensive line, and now, hopefully 2 formidable edge rushers. But I guess, the purpose of this is the Lions are coming up on top, but, the North is pretty good.
It's so sandwiched. I mean, you can nitpick each and every one of these rankings, and probably put majority of whether it's the Bears or the Vikings or the Packers up in front. So
yeah, I mean, just defensive line. Van Ginkel has just he's devastated the Lions, and I watch this guy. I don't watch enough Vikings football outside of playing Detroit, especially defensive football, and but all I see of him when he plays the Lions is like, this guy is an absolute difference maker.
Yeah.
And he blows up the offense. So we're getting a linebacker here. Probably a big Jimmy Roller waiting here, but a linebacker finished Lions, Packers, Bears, Vikings.
And I think that's mostly relying on Jack Campbell being an All-Pro. But Quay Walker's a solid backer for the Packers. You look at Devin Bush being somebody who's a perennial guy that's been working hard for the Bears, and obviously
a new Bear, right? I mean,
Right.
A guy that's been around the league a little bit, bounced around, but has been a 100 tackle plus
Right.
guy, and Bears go out and add him to the defense. It's going to be
and the Vikings find ways to put their guys in the best position in order to make plays. So
yeah. Cornerbacks, here we go with Bears, Vikings, Lions, Packers.
Is Terry and Arnold going to do anything this year? Are we going to see anything from Ennis Rakestraw? Is DJ Reed going to be healthy? Those are going to be big question marks. So,
yeah, and you can see the Lions overachieving there, but also you can see the Lions underachieving there. And safeties,
Jalen Johnson from the Bears is going to be continues to be somebody to deal with. So.
Safeties, I think by name, the Lions win this. By health, I would rank the Lions probably in fourth place here.
Right.
But by names in the roster, it goes Lions, Packers, Bears, Vikings.
And Xavier McKinney for the Packers easily can be in that argument with the Brian Branches and the Kirby Josephs. But will Brian Branch make it through the season? And when he comes back, will he look healthy?
Yeah.
Will he look the same? So
Yeah. And then special teams, rounded out, Lions, Packers, Bears, Vikings.
I love that one. So.
Position by position breakdown, man. We gave it to you, but like if you look at the analytics and you just kind of like did the law of averages here, the data suggests that the Lions should win the North or at least have the best roster in the North.
And it's crazy. You start to see that. I mean, you're seeing it more and more that the predictions are coming in the Lions' favor. And this is coming off a disappointing season, but it is still coming with a fourth place schedule, and so I think that has a big impact as well.
Yeah, so number one rankings, after what we gave to you, keeping a tab there, the Lions had 6 number one rankings, the Packers had 2, Bears had 2, and the Vikings had 0.
Yep.
So very, very interesting. Any other frosting you want to put on that cake?
No, I mean, we have high aspirations. We should have high aspirations for the Lions. Playoffs are a bare minimum this year. They should be competing for the North, and they should be competing for the NFC. But the question mark, are they going to be better than some of those top-tier NFC teams like the Rams and so on? So
yeah.
and like the Seahawks, the defending champs. So
yeah. Move on.
Final
segment here. If you listen this long, it's time for us to make you a little bit of money.
All right, let's do it.
So, if you are okay with placing future bets, which philosophically sometimes it's hard for me because it's like, man, you can put that money into, a high yield savings account, the market, and you could do a lot more with your money than waiting 9, 10 a year for your bet to kind of hit. But what we want to tell you is there's some things standing out here. So let's start with over-under win totals. We're going to just go NFC North.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So Bears, our over-under is 9.5. It's even money, which means if you bet $1, you can win $1. And be careful if you are a neutral novice bettor, because sometimes they'll put these things out and they'll say, you're going to come up with the Packers, and it's going to say, here's the number, but it's minus 140. So if you bet $1, you're not getting the whole dollar back. Right. So, anyways, Bears 9.5, even money.
Okay. Are you giving me? Am I picking the over under here?
You can have whatever reaction you want. Playing a first place schedule.
Yeah.
Exciting offense. Got a lot of things going on there.
Yeah, and second year of Ben Johnson as a HC, and it's hard for me to pick the under there. I think I'm going to pick the over. 10. I think they're at 10.
Bet a dollar to make a dollar.
Make a dollar.
Lions, 10.5, minus 110.
Well, if you go back to our schedule pick 'em, I had them at 12, so I'm picking the over.
You're picking the over. So, Packers, 9.5, minus 140.
All
So
right.
this tells you that Vegas actually thinks the Packers are better than the Bears, but worse than the Lions.
Yeah. So it's crazy enough. I'm going to pick the over again.
You're going to pick the over again?
I think they're right there at 10.
Okay. So, actually, I want to correct myself. The Vegas doesn't think that they're better than the Bears. They think that they have a better chance of winning more than 9.5, so they give you worse odds, right? It's schedule. They're looking at all the data. So, Vikings, 8.5, minus 105.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Kyler Murray, JJ conundrum. Who is going to be the guy, and are they going to be able to get him over the hump kind of piece? So,
Yeah. So,
I'm going to go with the under.
you have
Yeah.
to. You can't go four
Can't
overs
go
here.
everybody over, right?
If you're going to go with the under, I'm thinking that the Kyler Murray experience is not going to go great.
Yeah.
And I think J.J. McCarthy probably gets one last ditch effort before they send him, in a train to another city. Division winners, Brian. For the North, the Lions are plus 180.
Yep.
So
Vikings plus 510.
Vikings plus 510, Packers plus 220, and the Bears plus 300.
Okay.
So Vegas is taunting you here. They're taunting you. They've got what they're saying here is we got enough money on the Lions. We don't want any more money on the Lions. We want that Bear money.
Yeah.
They won the division last year. They're a hot name. They want all that Bear money, and Vegas is saying the Bears are not going to win this division. We will take your bets. We'll take your money. First place schedule. We don't think they're going to win the division because plus 300 is a big number to give a team that just won the division. That actually kind of didn't significantly. Their quarterback's still there. Their coach is still there.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to look at all the nuances that the Bears went through, and we can do that later. But the Bears won a lot of tight games. They had a high turnover margin in their favor, and I don't know if you can replicate that. So
Interesting. Here's the one I found most interesting. We're getting to the end of this podcast, end of these odds. But the NFC winner, right? And this actually probably should get readjusted because the numbers might look a little different after some trades. But the Rams are plus 250. So basically they're saying the Rams are going to win
the NFC.
And they're making moves like they want to win now, right? So the Seahawks at plus 610, the Eagles at plus 820. Now listen here closely. The Packers are at plus 900, and the Lions are at plus 940. So Vegas is more concerned about the Packers winning the North than the Lions. But let's go back. If you look at the North, the Lions, 10.5 minus 110. The Packers are 9.5 minus 140. There might be some secret juice on the Packers here. I don't know, but that's very interesting. And then going back to the winner of the NFC, if you want to bet the Bears, it's plus 1250.
Yeah, there's a lot of juice there.
A lot of juice there. Brian, what's your reaction there?
Yeah, I mean, right now, if you look at the Rams roster, they got a solid roster, right? I mean, they are continuing to make moves to try to win now. They're looking at. We don't have a ton of years left on Matthew Stafford, and this is our window. So
just buy your Rams Super Bowl tickets right now.
Might as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be in L.A., right?
Is it L.A.?
I think it's L.A.
Okay.
I think so. The Super Bowl is in L.A. Are you gonna see the Rams versus Chargers Super Bowl in L.A.?
That'd be interesting. Obviously making big trades. I think drafting Ty Simpson was like I don't know. I'm gonna go back. If I'm a Rams fan, I'm unbelievably upset at that.
Yeah.
When there's guys on the board that can help your team win now, taking another wide receiver, a cornerback, whatever it is. Like, the fact that they didn't do that, but making a big trade, going out and getting Myles Garrett, just basically doubling down and saying, like, all right,
now's the time.
F that draft capital. We've spoiled it. We've proven that we will spoil it. We are going to get a game record at the position that's highly motivated to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They have to be the favorite, right?
They have to.
And it'd be hard not to click that button. It feels like probably free money. And the Lions got to overcome that.
They do.
Anything else, Brian, before we sign off?
That's it. Other than, we told you at the beginning, we'll tell you now again, make sure you like and subscribe, see all the things, and we appreciate you stopping by just to hang out for a bit.
Off-season's rolling, man. This is a fun time. Little tidbits are going to come out, but when they don't come out, we're going to do some fun games to kind of make this all interesting. So be sure to tune in next week. We appreciate you. Off-season's just starting to heat up.
Yeah.
But our expectations are too. See you next week. Cheers.